Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Thursday morning to you all. Hope everyone is doing well out there this morning and having a great start to your day and a fantastic week out there so far as we're drawing a little bit closer to that weekend. Of course, I got you some updated information on what's going to happen weather-wise between now and the next 24 hours. And of course, we'll extend a little bit into the next couple days also because we have another winter weather threat outside the one that we're dealing with right at this moment. But in the first portion of the video, we will discuss today's forecast. We'll talk about how it's snowing pretty heavily in the Great Lakes region right now. A very small, compact, but intense winter weather events ongoing right now, dropping 1 to 2 inch per hour rates across areas of lower Michigan. This will move into southern Ontario and eventually begin to affect the interior Northeast as we get a little bit later into our day and evening, and could bring snow as far south as northern PA, maybe a little bit more snow for southern New England, and several inches to maybe potentially over a foot of snow for certain areas of like the higher elevations of the interior Northeast. So we'll break that down, show you some really cool graphics from the National Weather Service that show town names and things like that. And then after we move past all of that, we will give you some updated information on this next winter weather threat directly behind this one that will cross the middle section of the country and eventually the Ohio Valley into the mid-Atlantic. So we'll kind of give you some new information on that. If you folks have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like, and if anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put those in the comments below. Not entirely sure if I'm going to get a video out tonight. Got a couple things going on this evening after work, but we'll see what happens here. So if you don't see me tonight, I'll give you the latest and greatest information right when we wake up for our Friday morning. So let's get rocking and rolling. So as you can tell, there's a little bit of moisture out west. Not a little bit. There's a good bit in certain areas. Raining in the valleys of Idaho, higher elevation snow. The Rockies are getting some snow. And then the Pacific Northwest getting a system moving through where lower elevations are seeing rain. The Olympic Mountains, the Cascades seeing snow, a little bit of snow, kind of dwindling away here in the Sierra Nevada. And then we will begin to see the beginning stages of our next winter weather event that will cross across sections of the northern plains eventually into the middle of the country here in the next 12 hours or so. But this is our big topic in today's video. Very small, compact storm, but it's pretty intense. It's bringing some pretty heavy snow. Like 1 to 2 inch per hour rates are falling across lower Michigan, depending on your location, especially the closer you are to that rain snow line, probably the heavier and wetter the snow is. But this will eventually, like I mentioned, cross into southern Ontario and then move into the Northeast. But this is gonna, it doesn't look that impressive when you look at it on radar right now. But, I mean, it's dropping some pretty heavy snow. You guys in Michigan, let me know what you've seen. And, I think Minneapolis definitely overachieved last night. I think you were forecast to get 3 to 5 inches. You ended up with around 6 to 7 inches from what I'm hearing. So, you guys have had a pretty low-end winter, I would say. So, I don't think a couple more inches over what was forecast is going to hurt anybody's feelings too bad. But talking about the Storm Prediction Center, not a whole lot going on. No thunderstorms are forecast today, and certainly no severe weather. Excessive rainfall outlook below 5%, so that's good news. And, it's good there's no severe weather expected, guys, because, we're getting later into February, and March is right around the corner, and we all know that, Dixie and areas of the South is going to start to get active probably pretty soon. So let's enjoy no severe weather while we can. Winter weather alerts out there. There's a lot across the northern and central Rockies. You got the winter weather advisories in the purple, the winter storm warnings in the pink, and there's already winter weather advisories out for northern Nebraska, southern South Dakota, areas of the northern plains ahead of this next winter weather event. These purple areas right in here is these winter weather advisories from what's going on right at this moment. Snowing pretty good. I kind of took my shot there last night, said I thought they would get upgraded to some winter storm warnings in lower Michigan last night. That was not the case. They kept it a winter weather advisory, so still expecting several more inches of snow before it's all said and done. Winter storm warnings are up, though, here like in the Tuck Hill Plateau areas of the Adirondacks of New York State. So we have winter weather advisories surrounding those winter storm warnings in pink, and winter weather advisories up for areas of Vermont and New Hampshire and areas in Maine. We'll see if these get extended down here into Massachusetts here in the next several hours as we draw a little bit closer to this event. The southern tier of the lower 48 is pretty quiet from the west coast to the east coast. It's pretty quiet weather, warmer weather for sure. There's a lot of areas that will get into the 60s and 70s today. Spring's coming in the south. I was looking at my yard when I got home over the last couple of days, and it's wild. It just seems like I don't know, here in the Carolinas over the last couple winters, it seems like winter lasts a few weeks. It really does. And, as soon as you start to get into the meat of winter, you can already see kind of the door out, in a way. And I was looking at my grass today and over the last couple of days, and you're starting to see kind of new grass blades pop up through the brown dormant grass, and you're starting to see those annoying, ugly late winter weeds, and spring's right around the corner when you start to see that kind of stuff. So the Southeast though today, we starting this morning, not a whole lot going on. Getting into about midday, quiet. This afternoon, quiet. A little bit of shower activity is likely up here in West Virginia. A little bit of rain before some of the snow that you'll get here in the next day or so. But this will be falling the form of rain up here in the mountains and just West Virginia in general. And then we could get a little sprinkle activity later this evening into the higher elevations and just the southern Alps regions of North Carolina, Virginia, and Tennessee. And then we get all the way to Friday morning. There's the moisture starting to enter the screen. Once upon a time, we thought this could bring a winter weather threat for areas of the southeast, but, a little salty. So if you hear it in my voice, it's true. It just seems like every event never materializes. So this will be kind of another swing and miss here for the southeast, but there is some moisture trying to bubble up here, and you'll wake up for areas of, like the southern sections of Louisiana to some light rain falling in the coastal sections of Tennessee, almost called Texas, Tennessee, of Texas, seeing some rain. We'll zoom into Texas more here in a second once we get to the south central frame. Northeast today, we'll spend a little time on this. Quiet this morning, but there is snow coming up later on today. This is around midday today. A few hour period of some heavy snow going across southern Ontario. Even a little bit further north we'll get snow too. A little bit further north in Canada. This thing really broadens out once you get to the northern side of the system. The further south you get, the more skinny and scrawny it gets, but the more heavier the precipitation is. So, by the time we get into this afternoon, this is around 2 or 3 o'clock this afternoon, still snowing in areas of Canada. It's almost just about moved completely out of the Great Lakes region. The only thing you're left with is some lake effect snow, which could be heavy on its own. Latest model guidance shows it's going to start off as rain. You might go on and off the snow this afternoon in Buffalo for a period. Could get some light accumulations. But by the time this thing moves into New York State, the Finger Lakes region, the southern tier of New York, and even northern Pennsylvania, most of this will be falling as snow as the sun begins to set. And we have a light to moderate snow event crossing areas of the interior northeast. It starts to move into the Adirondacks. It's already snowing in the Tug Hill Plateau by the time we get into this afternoon. And the snow will add up pretty quick, maybe inch per hour rates. Some of this snow will be, I wouldn't say convective in nature, but it will be more heavy snow rather than just a consistent moderate snow. But a little bit of snow is possible here, down here in the Poconos and, even around Scranton. You guys could get a little snow, a little bit of snow activity here in Binghamton this evening. And then the snow will try to move into southern New England, like the Berkshires. We'll start to kind of take over Vermont and New Hampshire by the time we get into later this evening, like 9, 10 p.m. Still snowing pretty good in the Adirondacks. And then look at this snow that begins to take over southern New England, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, areas of Connecticut. Snow will be falling on top of old snow from a couple days ago. And then we'll get a period of light to moderate snow across the Boston area later this evening. You guys got completely ripped off from the last storm system. Maybe you'll make up for it by getting a couple inches of snow from this system. We'll see what happens. This will stay less sporadic in nature up here in Vermont, New Hampshire, and especially northern sections of those states and the Adirondacks, where we'll get just more of a solid period of snow. The further south you get, the more sporadic in nature it will be, but when it is snowing, it could be heavy. By the time we get into about the middle of the night tonight, snow begins to overspread Maine, still snowing in Vermont, New Hampshire, and areas of New York State, getting more sporadic in nature down here in Massachusetts, where we're just getting kind of rounds of snow. And then by the time we get into the wee hours of the morning, we could get a pretty intense band of lake effect snow coming off Lake Ontario that's going to slash through basically the heart of New York State, affect areas of the Finger Lakes, up to Syracuse. You guys could pick up several inches of snow just off this snow band. It looks to set up south of the Tug Hill Plateau, but it's still snowing tomorrow morning in areas of Maine, the down east areas of Maine, the coastal regions of Maine, and even Nova Scotia. You guys could get a little bit of snow off this, especially the western end of Nova Scotia. And then we get into tomorrow afternoon. So we talk about snow totals, a broad look at this. Several inches of snow in New York State. a few to several inches of snow in Vermont, New Hampshire. Further higher up you are, the more snow you'll get. And then it's a pretty sharp cutoff in Maine, from central Maine to southwestern sections of Maine. You guys will get a few inches of accumulating snow, but once you get into the northern sections of Maine, not as much. And a little snow is forecast down here in southern New England. And yes, even northern Pennsylvania, a little snow is possible. So we talk about the individual graphics, though. A lot of people probably want to see this. Buffalo, inch or less. You get outside of Buffalo, just east, and could get a few inches of snow. Rochester, 2 to 3. Tuck Hill Plateau in general, anywhere from 6 to 12 inches of snow. High Market, 8 to 12. Watertown, 4 to 6. Fulton, 4 to 6 inches of snow. So check out. Hopefully your area is on the screen, or at least if your town name isn't, you know that you're closer to a town name. You can kind of judge off what it's saying for that specific town. National Weather Service out of Binghamton. Binghamton itself is going for an inch or less. Scranton, kind of the same thing. Could get a little bit more in these areas, just depending on how intense the snow is. Syracuse, 4 to 6 inches of snow. These are areas that just, this area kind of right in here didn't get much at all in the way of any snow from this last system. Really, I don't think they got anything. There was a time where Binghamton was forecast to get 8 to 12 inches of snow, and I think it just flat out missed y'all altogether. But anyways, I think that's Syracuse is 3 to 4. Hamilton is 4 to 6. Boonville, 8 inches of snow forecast. So continue to move. Get up here in the northern sections of New York State and the entire state of Vermont. This is what we are looking at here. And, the Adirondacks is good for 6 to 8 inches of snow, depending on your location. Burlington itself, around 3 inches. Stowe, around 4 to 5 inches of snow. And, a solid snow event for the state of Vermont. Nothing too crazy at all. Nothing that's going to wreak havoc or anything like that. You guys are used to it up here. Head a little bit further south. We look at Albany, 1 to 2 inches of snow forecast. Ohio, New York is 8 to 12. Old Forge, 6 to 8. And Pittsfield, Mass, 1 to 2 inches of snow. And the southern sections of Vermont could get, anywhere from 3 to 6 inches of snow, depending on your location. Continue to move forward. New York region, you could get a dusting to maybe a coating of snow. Going for 1/10 of an inch of snow in New York City. So that's a little bit, enough to maybe put a coating on the car tops. We'll see what actually happens. We start to get a little bit further north in Connecticut, though. Someone might sneak in an inch of snow, especially once you get closer to Hartford. And speaking of Hartford, they're going for around an inch or so. Boston, around an inch, inch and a half of snow. Fitchburg, 2 inches or so. So a very light event for these regions. Nothing too crazy at all. Once you start to get a little bit further north and northwest, you start to get to a few inches of snow forecast. Get up to New Hampshire and areas of Maine. Plymouth, 4 to 6 inches. Portsmouth, 2 to 3 inches of snow. Portsmouth. Manchester, 2 to 3. Concord, 2 to 3. Sanford, 3 to 4 inches. Portland, a good 4 to 6 inch snow event from this is what's forecasted. So a little bit further up into Maine. Don't want to leave you guys hanging. The down east areas of Maine, anywhere from an inch or less, or maybe 3 inches of snow. Caribou, you're not forecast to get anything right at this moment. So, but that's it for that. Let's talk about the South Central U.S. And, we'll start this morning. We're getting into about midday. And we get into this evening. And as you can tell, some rain starts to move in to areas of Texas later this evening. It's raining in Brownsville. Pretty much everybody in South Texas, deep in South Texas, getting, your typical El Nino kind of moisture down here. And as we are getting into, tomorrow morning, rain starting to get all the way up to the Louisiana coastline, Houston, sharp cutoff, raining in Corpus Christi, rain starting to sneak up even into San Antonio region. And just a steady light to moderate rain down here is expected. But everybody else is pretty quiet. We'll speak on the snow up here in a second. Everybody else, pretty quiet. And if we look at how much rainfall is expected between now and the next 48 hours, a good 1 to 2 inch rainfall event down here deep in South Texas. So hopefully you know where you are in this area if you're tuning in from this area. But, Brownsville, good inch and a quarter, inch and a half is possible. Corpus Christi, maybe around an inch of almost said snow, inch of rain. I don't want to give anybody the wrong idea. About a ½ inch of rain up here, but just between now and the next 48 hours in Houston. So certainly some rain expected down here. Now we'll spend a little bit of time on this. The north central U.S. snow is flying around right now across the Great Lakes region. We'll take a look at the radar out of Grand Rapids, and that is some very heavy snow. Even got a report of blowing snow. and it looks like it's coming down hard in Grand Rapids right now. You know, you're mixing a little bit further south. You get down here, just some sleet forecast, sleet, snow. Looks like this is headed out of Milwaukee. You guys will have to let me know what you ended up seeing in Milwaukee overnight last night. It's the wee hours of the morning, and here it comes. A little bit of mixed sleet and snow just outside of Detroit. But you know, this is a pretty small system, but it is dropping, like I said, inch and a half per hour rates in this region. So this will continue to move into southern Ontario, Toronto, London. You guys will begin to get some snow here in the next hour or so if you're not already. So we'll continue to get this in motion. This will head on off. Snow will continue. After this pulls on off, shot of cold air moves in behind this system. Okay, as soon as this cold air moves over, you know, the Great Lakes aren't froze over. So, you know, you're going to continue to get lake effect snow. And here it comes. You know, you get a pretty robust period of lake effect snow into the UP of Michigan later this evening. So, you know, you guys that, you know, haven't seen a whole lot of snow lately, you'll start to add back up your snowpack here later in the winter. But, you know, I know there's a lot of companies that need the snow up here from what I'm hearing, and I'm just assuming that also. So, you know, it's nice to get this snowpack back going again, even though it's getting kind of later in winter. I know winter lasts much longer time up here, though. But, you know, you're getting into later this evening, the overnight hours, and we could get some pretty intense snow banding up here in the UP of Michigan. Just depends on where you are. You know, I don't pretend to know every favorable area in this region. It probably all just depends on that wind flow. But these continue. You know, you get all the way into tomorrow morning, and you still got lake effect snow. And then we got this system. Let's back it up. Okay. We got this system right here. And this is getting into this afternoon. Snow begins to move out of the northern plains, out of areas of Wyoming and Montana. By the time we're into this evening, we got an all-out light to moderate snow event again for areas of South Dakota. I don't think this will reach North Dakota. By the time we are getting into like 10, 11 p.m. tonight, snow is beginning to sink southeastward, and it's snowing at a pretty decent clip here in southern areas and southeastern sections of South Dakota, getting into the Sioux Falls, Sioux City region. Some moderate to heavy snow will be flying around later tonight in areas of northeast Nebraska. At this point, snow is falling in Iowa, Ames, Des Moines. You'll get a period of light to moderate snow. Don't think it's going to add up much. Omaha, you could get some snow. And then we'll get all the way into Friday morning. And latest age triple R model is getting some snow all the way down here to northern Missouri. We'll wake up tomorrow morning with some light to moderate snow flying around. Could be heavy. And some snow flying around here in the eastern Iowa area, southern Iowa, even some snow in the northeast corner of Kansas. And we could even get a period of snow up into Chicago as we are getting a little bit deeper into our Friday morning. But we'll do an extension of this here in a second. So if you're wondering, Mitch, please keep it going. We want to know what happens in the rest of Illinois, Indiana, St. Louis. Just skip to that time stamp, and I got you covered. Just between now, though, and don't focus on this down here. Just focus on this. Between now and Friday evening, this is the total snowfall total. Some of this is already added up. Okay, several inches before it's all said and done. We'll fall in up here in the northern lower Michigan area, a few inches here in central Michigan. The eastern UP of Michigan, you know, is definitely going to get some solid snow going, you know, where a lot of people will get over a half a foot of snow. But even the western UP and central UP, a few inches of snow is likely at least. But, you know, there's areas that are going to get 6 to 8 inches of snow up here too. So, but let's talk about the northern plains. I didn't really show you the radar out of this area, but I do apologize. But we will just show you what a lot of people want to see anyways, and that's how much snow to expect. You know, southern Montana is going to get several inches of snow. Yellowstone National Park, Wyoming, this is the northern plains. But once we get away from the Rockies out into the plateau, the northern plains here, a stripe of light to moderate accumulations is expected. You know, we're going to pick up a quick 3 to 5 inches of snow here in western South Dakota. This stripe of snow will, you know, it's very scrawny, very skinny. We'll go all the way through southern areas of South Dakota, northern areas of Nebraska, and then eventually we get all the way into Iowa, which I don't know. Oh, yeah, I think I did it where I'm going to do it on the fly here. But we get all the way down to Iowa. And we'll extend this, and we've lost the latest thing. Here it goes. And there's Iowa down there. So this is snowfall just between now and Friday morning. And we already got a few inches of snow likely on the ground in areas of western Iowa and even sections of getting close to like Omaha, maybe an inch of snow. We'll extend this a little bit further out to Friday afternoon, and just a slight, just kind of a slither of light snowfall accumulations all the way into Iowa. We'll extend this a little bit further when we get to the next time frame here. We'll timestamp, including the rest of this storm signal system. I gotta stop saying that. I keep wanting to say signal. I think I said that so much over the last few weeks that I'm just saying that instead of system. But the western U.S., I've already showed you on radar, there's a lot of moisture flying around out here. This will continue to be the common theme, and the extension of that system I just talked about will start to break loose out into the central portion of the country. But we do got a lot of other moisture too flying around across the Rockies, the Cascades, lower elevation, rain, higher elevation snow, the deal. No super cold air in place, so it's not like you're getting lower elevation snow too, but definitely going to get several inches to over a foot of snow in certain areas depending on where you are in elevation. And by the time you get into Friday morning, I think we'll have a much calmer start to our Friday morning tomorrow in the western U.S. for sure. Snowfall from this, you're just going to add up the snowpack up in the Rockies. Stay tuned to your local people. Folks, I really do wish I had time in the mornings. I've said it many times. I'll say it again. If this was my full-time job, I would make it happen. I wish I had time to pull up those, like for you up here in Karen, I almost called your state Karen. But Karen up in Montana is a loyal viewer that tunes in just about every single video. I feel bad for people like her, even my buddy down here and Bill down here in Las Vegas. I feel bad that I can't get as detailed for you folks. Even Ron down here, but it would take like 2 hours to prepare these videos if I was to pull, not 2 hours, probably a good hour and a half. If I was to pull up every single individual snow graphic for this area out here, it would take a long time. But maybe one of these days, that's how I separate myself from other people who do what I do with the weather on YouTube. I try to spend a lot of time on these videos and get a lot more detailed. I have no clue. It's not a knock on anybody else, but I have no clue how there's other people who can do this in 10 to 15 minutes. And somehow the audience can get detailed information out of it. So, but anyways, it's not a knock on them. Some people like that. We see it in the comments, right? Some people say, Mitch, you talk way too much. Your videos are way too long. I haven't seen a comment like that in a while. But it is wild to me that that people can get enough information off a 10-minute video talking about the entire U.S. But the eastern and central U.S., it's going to be warm across the south. And talking about those late winter weeds, they're going to continue to pop up here. Temperatures in the 70s, 60s, and 70s across the south, southeast. It's pretty warm ahead of this snow event that I'm about to talk about for these regions right in here. And you're starting to get a little bit of snow melting up here, like in the southern New England region. It'll melt a little bit today, but not a whole lot. But the Ohio Valley, warmer than average. The Midwest, around average temperature-wise. And you're still below freezing up here in the northern section of the country, which this time of the year you should be. It's pretty cold up here in the northern Rockies, but it starts to get well above average once you get into the southwestern U.S. and just the western U.S. You're going to have a pretty nice day in California today. Temperatures are warming on up, so enjoy that. Let's get you in updates. You remember how we stopped for Friday morning? Well, we're going to start for Friday morning now. And here we go. We're going to zoom into Missouri, Illinois, these regions. Starting off Friday morning, we'll look at the latest HRRR model. Here comes the snow moving into the region. St. Louis, you might start off as a mix tomorrow, kind of a mix of rain and snow. But it's kind of a weird kind of band of snow. You got this weird extension that's going all the way through northern Indiana, all the way into Ohio for Friday morning. Some snow is now possible in Chicago from this. Could get some light snow waking up tomorrow morning. This is heavier snow, though, once you get down into like northern Missouri, just north of St. Louis. And then by the time we get, say about late morning, about midday, around lunchtime tomorrow, you got a light to moderate snow event crossing, across regions of Illinois, central, and especially south central Illinois. You got snow moving through. It's snowing in the northern half of Indiana. I think it'll snow there first, Indianapolis. Some of these model runs didn't bring a whole lot of snow into this region, like northern Indiana. Latest HRRR model brings a stripe of accumulating snow all the way up into northern Indiana. We'll see if this happens. You're going to get mainly rain down here in southern areas of Missouri, even extreme southern Illinois. You'll struggle with mainly rain down here, but this will continue through tomorrow afternoon. You could get some mixing ongoing once this colder air kind of oozes further south. Could start to see some sleet, some rain snow mix, maybe just some snow down here in southern Illinois. And then by the time we get into tomorrow afternoon, this moves into the next frame. Let's go on and talk about the snow for this area. We'll talk more on Indiana, Kentucky, and Ohio and areas further east here in a second. This is snowfall that is predicted from the National Weather Service for this system in this area. So St. Louis, they're calling for about an inch, a little bit more of snow. Just north of St. Louis, a swath of 2 to 2.5 to 3 inches of snow. Right here in the heart of Illinois, 1 to 2 inches of snow is the common thing. That's what I would bet for. And I don't have those really cool graphics from you from the National Weather Service. I just didn't have enough time to pull them all up. Hopefully I can do that if I can get a video in this evening. But hopefully this gives you an idea. Hopefully, and this is not a knock on anybody, but hopefully you know where you are in your states and kind of the general region. But this is what it's looking like. Let's move it a little bit further east, look more of the Ohio Valley and move past the Midwest. And here comes the snow. I mean, like I said, Indianapolis into here, it's snowing pretty good. You got snow starting to move into western sections of Ohio. This is what we're watching for is the short range model guidance has ticked a little bit further north. This could bring a little bit more areas of the Ohio Valley into the mix, but it could bring a little bit less snow for Kentucky. It's a trend that we're watching. At least it's a short range trend that we're watching. But we're getting into Friday afternoon. This is mostly a cold rain down here into Kentucky, but cold air is coming in. By the time we are getting into tomorrow late afternoon, you're snowing pretty good in Cincinnati, Louisville. Frankfurt's seeing some snow at this point. Lexington, you're about to switch to snow. But this is a stripe of pretty heavy snow going through southern areas of Ohio and central Ohio. Mainly rain down here. Could get some thunderstorms down to Tennessee. We kind of keep this going. The latest HRRR model keeps it mainly rain down here. Like down here to Bowling Green and just southern areas of Kentucky. But you see this snow starting to move into West Virginia. This thing starts to get a lot more juiced up here. We're getting into tomorrow, late afternoon. This is more so the evening. The sun's beginning to set. Could have some lingering snow flurries flying around back here in Illinois. And this is when the snow could add up pretty quick, right where Kentucky and Ohio and West Virginia meet. Snow could start to add up pretty good here. And then we start to get into tomorrow night. And then you could end as a little bit of snow in sort of like southeastern sections of Kentucky. And then we start to head on out. And this is 48 hours out. And we're pretty much done at this point. Could get some lingering flurries overnight tomorrow night all the way down into Tennessee. We'll see what happens with that. Snowfall between now and the duration of this event. They're not going for much in Indiana. Inch and a half at most. We'll see if these totals jump up. See if there's any new information here that's came through. And there's not. Going for, an inch or less here in Cincinnati. Little pocket of maybe an inch of snow in kind of northeastern sections of Kentucky. But, you compare this against the GFS. I love when it does that. Actually, I don't. That's sarcasm, guys. But you compare this against the GFS. All right, it brings a good swath of 2 to as much as 5 inches of snow in this entire region right in here. Okay, so you know that the National Weather Service is certainly always going to take the conservative route, and typically, not always, but typically they're more accurate than the more aggressive route, right? But the GFS is much further south than the HRRR model as far as the axis of heavy snow. It wants to bring snow all the way down to southern sections of Kentucky, a few inches at that, and then we look at the latest European with this. Okay, and I think the European is more on to something. I like the more northern route with this, but you see how much more snow it brings compared to the National Weather Service forecast? It's bringing a few inches to even in some cases several inches of snow. And, it's bringing an all-out snowstorm for West Virginia. I would call 3 to 5 inches of snow for Kentucky a quick-hitting snowstorm, in my opinion, based off what I know about Kentucky. So, it's a little bit further north, but the Euro and the GFS agree with more juiced up snowfall totals. Okay, we start to move into the mid-Atlantic. Stripe of snow begins to take over southern sections of Pennsylvania, western Maryland, northern Maryland, It's snowing pretty good in basically the entire state of West Virginia at this point. Some heavy snow begins to move into northern sections of Virginia. This is when the system can get a little bit, I guess you would say, dynamic, a little bit more juiced up, more precipitation, heavier precipitation as this low begins to deepen. And then we take it all the way to about the middle of the night tomorrow night. Snowing pretty good in D.C., Baltimore, even snowing in Philadelphia, everybody in between. Snow's moving into the Delmarva region, Delaware, almost all of New Jersey, even getting some snow all the way up to New York City. But you see down here in central Virginia, right where you're the closest to that rain snow line, that's where your heaviest snow, and just north of the rain snow line where you're snowing, that's where your heaviest snow has the opportunity to be. Now, the HRRR model only goes out 48 hours, so it only stops right here. So go to bed tomorrow night, maybe not anything going on. Wake up looking like a winter wonderland, depending on your location. And we'll kind of finish this off based off the European, and we are in range of the 06Z, so that's good. European, doesn't get that heavier snow further deeper south in central Virginia, but, the European's looking pretty juiced up. Brings an area of heavy snow right through the Delmarva areas in the mid-Atlantic, and the latest European is getting a period of moderate snow now all the way up into central Pennsylvania. Okay? It's staying mainly rain down here in southern Virginia and even central Virginia. But it's definitely cold enough for snow as of now for a quick hitting all snow event. Moves into DC, after nighttime tomorrow night. Snow's pretty good overnight. By the time you're waking up tomorrow morning, it's snowing pretty good and just snowing in this entire I-95 corridor right in here. And then it even brings that period, a several hour period of moderate snow all the way up to New York City. And it'll be plenty cold enough up here. You struggled with accumulations in New York City. I mean, you got a good, 3 to 5 inches of snow in New York City with this last event. I think the tally was around 3 and 3.5. You won't struggle as much with temperatures with this event. You won't. You're kind of deep into the colder portion of this storm. But we have to watch these ticks. If this low is a 999 low, if it ticks any further north, then all of a sudden you're looking at a more appreciable snow event for New York City and Long Island as we're getting into Saturday and Saturday morning. And then this heads on off. As of now, National Weather Service forecast, kind of ignore this up here. This is from what's going on over the next 24 hours. But as of now, they got you a good stripe of anywhere from 2 to 3 inches of snow in this blue area right into here. I think West Virginia could get more snow this. I feel like the National Weather Service is kind of lowballing this a little bit. I don't know. I just kind of feel like they are. I'm not sure why. But if they end up being right, then, hey, it just solidifies the fact that they are the experts. But, you look at the European run with this. We're going to have to play around with this. Here we go. The European with this, solid stripe of accumulating snow in this area. And I like the idea more so of around 4 to 5 inches of snow, depending on your location, elevation in West Virginia. And then right through the northern portion of Virginia, a few inches of snow is likely. They're going for around 4 inches of snow in D.C. and the Delmarva, kind of the northern sections of the Delmarva, really into the mid-Atlantic. I don't think down here in southern Maryland is going to get much. I think you'll struggle with rain, but you never know. But, this area right here has had a decent winter. They haven't had this blockbuster storm yet where you get 8 to 12 inches of snow, but you've had multiple moderate events, and I think that this could be another moderate event. We need to watch how far north this axis of accumulating snow ticks into like New York City, southern New England. But this is what the Euro shows. The GFS, what does it show? It's a little bit further south. See how it notched south? So we'll continue to figure this one out. I try to get a video out tonight. I would aim towards me not, but we'll see what happens, guys. God bless all y'all. Have a great night, and I'll talk to you soon.